On this week's episode of The Splash, we have the art of healing, the future of fire, and the breaking of ground. The Splash is a production of Civic Center TV. We're a news magazine that covers everything from local news to feature stories, also that we can bring you the latest from the greater West Bloomfield area. And now, let's dive into The Splash.
Hi, I'm Brooke Allen. Welcome to The Splash. Thanks for being with us. When people are recovering from an illness or injury, art can be one of the things that help get them through the healing process. Ryan Younglove visited Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital to hear about their Healing Arts program.
I'm here today in the demonstration kitchen at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital, where we go behind the scene and learn more about healing arts.
We have 18 different topics, and they're all called Behind the Scene, S-E-E-N. In other words, learning a little more about what you see when you come to the museum. So on the second Tuesday of every month, I come to Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital, and we do a program at noon, and the topics are always on the West Bloomfield Hospital website. So today's topic is in the garden, and we're going to talk about animals, plants, and gardens that are found in visual art at the DIA. Everybody enjoys learning a little bit more. Some of them you learn a little bit more about your favorite pieces of art. You learn about pieces that maybe you're not familiar with. And so I think the goal is everybody comes away with a little more knowledge than they had before. And then we invite everyone, come to the museum and see the real thing.
After the fantastic presentation, I was taken on the Healing Arts Art Walk, where I learned about different pieces of art that were given to the Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital and why they were put there. It's a great experience for people at the hospital who might not be able to make it out to places like the DIA. It's also a great way to relax your mind while dealing with stress or problems of any variety.
The feedback from our people that listen to us or that have tours in the museum, I also give tours in the museum, people just love learning a little bit more about the pieces of art. So it's really the feedback that we get from the patrons, from the visitors, and from the people that we talk to in the community. So it's all about the feedback and really, having them enjoy this treasure called the DIA that a lot of people don't know a lot about. So we want them to come and see.
With this great collaboration with the DIA and the Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital, you get a new perspective on how powerful healing art is and how it can help many people in many situations. This has been Ryan Younglove, reporting for The Splash.
You can find more information on our website at civiccentertv.com/healingartsgarden. West Bloomfield is growing, and with that comes the growing needs of other services here, like the fire department. And Jenna Skalski visited a brand new fire station to get the story.
I'm standing here in front of the newest fire station number 3 in West Bloomfield. The original facility, built back in the 1950s, had to be taken down because it could not keep up with the growing population here in the city. Back in 1954, Fire Station Number 3 was built to only host a crew of 2. Throughout the decades, multiple renovations were made. However, the community agreed it was time to start fresh.
It was starting to fall apart. We were getting a lot of environmental issues popping up, and our administration agreed that it was best to completely demolish, expand, and we were able to acquire the property that is just to the south of us, and then make even a larger fire station to house us currently and to be able to expand when our department's ready to expand. This station is manned 24 hours a day, so 8 o'clock in the morning is our shift change. So right now it's a 4-man station, so right at 8 o'clock in the morning you'll have 8 people here, and 4 coming on, 4 going off, and we're here for 24 hours.
With firefighters coming in and out during all hours of the day, it's important to have this station feel like a home away from home before heading out during an emergency.
So we live here, we eat, sleep, play, exercise, train, but our true bread and butter is outside at the communities, wherever we get called to. And so this is just a good launch pad for that. We had our our grand opening end of October, and a lot of people came out. They got a tour of the facility. We had some cider and donuts. It was a lot of fun. We enjoyed taking the public around and showing them the whole station.
With a wonderful new facility, the team remembers the journey endured to get here.
Pretty much with any new build, the process has always full of hiccups and roadblocks and delays, and we have run into those delays, but it's pretty exciting to be in a new fire station, and getting settled and learning all the little nuances for the department for this station.
I'm Jenna Skalski reporting for The Splash.
For more, you can visit civiccentertv.com/firestation3. Later in the show, we break ground and we also speak to Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, who represents our community.
Don't go away. You're watching The Splash on Civic Center TV.
This hour of programming is brought to you in part by Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. 10 years ago, Henry Ford Health System celebrated the grand opening of its West Bloomfield Hospital. Since then, they've celebrated innovative new technologies, medical breakthroughs, and unique approaches to health and healing. To learn more about Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital, visit henryford.com/West Bloomfield 10. Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital is a proud sponsor of Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
And now, back to The Splash on Civic Center TV.
Welcome back to The Splash. I'm Brooke Allen. Thank you for being with us. West Bloomfield is getting a brand spanking new middle school that is set to open in 2022, and Tyler Keefe traded a shovel for a microphone to get the story.
CAT, creativity and technology. Oh, wait. There's going to be a new middle school in West Bloomfield.
Plans began just a few years ago to update and upgrade the quality of facilities and education in West Bloomfield schools, leading to the decision by the Board of Education and the community to invest in a new middle school, setting forth benchmarks for the future of academics in our community.
Well, our biggest goals was to make sure that instruction, curriculum drove the design. Kids need to develop skills that are collaborative, they communicate, they're critical thinking, they're creative, and we need to create environments that allows them the movement between each other, and also to create a family community where kids feel safe and work on their collaboration and skills like that.
The new middle school, scheduled to open in the fall of 2022, will bring West Bloomfield's middle schoolers into an environment specifically tailored to learning in the modern age, aiming to create a more effective facility and foster a more effective curriculum.
So just from the physical standpoint of the building itself, we're looking at kind of creating families for our students. So we'll have like 6th grade families, 7th grade families, more open spaces, more spaces for collaboration, more spaces for teachers to bring different classes together, more cross-curricular activities to happen. So we're kind of designing the building with the curriculum in mind. So what do we want our space to look like if this is what we want our curriculum to look like?
So there will be 6 families, or student family hubs, and there'll be up to 200 kids in a family. So those kids, in essence, will spend the day together. They'll have the same math teacher, they'll have the same science teacher, social studies, all of that. So they will be in a pod together. The other things that are wonderful is when you have more students and you have more staff in one building, you're able to offer a lot more opportunities for children. That's why we've always benefited from having one high school. We offer so many electives, and now we're going to be able to do that in the middle school.
The effort to create this environment goes much deeper than the administrative level, with teachers soon to be on the West Bloomfield Middle School team putting their heads together to set the vision for the next era of learning in our community.
So a larger staff obviously brings more programming, more expertise. The good thing about what we've been doing the last couple years is we've been meeting with both staffs during our professional learning. During our early releases, we're getting our staff together and we're talking about what our new building is going to look like. Currently, the programming we have, we're excited about, but what the potential of having 2 middle schools come together and 2 staffs come together is a lot of creative ideas are flowing right now. I think the fact that we can start from zero, the fact that we can say the space isn't built yet, but what do we want the kids to be able to do, and how do we create the space so that they can do it? So we want to start with what is working for us, but what are some things that kids in 2025 are going to be asked to do, and how can we create a space for them to do that? So I'm just excited that there's just so many possibilities, and that we want to be able to do what is working well right now, but also, like, the sky's the limit. If we can dream it, we can make it.
With new approaches, new spaces, and a different approach to education, the new West Bloomfield Middle School will soon be a great benefit to the education of students in our community. Now, I gotta get off this bulldozer before they send me off to the principal's office. You know what I'm talking about, Miss McCarty. Reporting for The Splash, I'm Tyler Kieft.
To learn more on this story, you can visit civiccentertv.com/WBMS Breakground. And now it's time for the Civic Center TV event update, where we provide you with upcoming events going on in our community. And for a look at additional events, visit civiccentertv.com/events. Hey, you, let's talk every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Come improve your English language skills at the West Bloomfield Public Library. These talks are facilitated by a tutor from the Oakland Literacy Council, and you can stop by any time during the length of the event. Registration is free. For more information, go to wbref@wblit.org. Join West Bloomfield Parks Connect for ages 50 and older. Located in Orchard Mall, West Bloomfield Parks has consolidated most senior services into 7,000 square feet. That includes new bathrooms, flooring, and lighting updates, as well as improvements to meet current ADA accessibility standards. Memberships are not required to utilize Connect's programs, and unless posted otherwise, drop-in programs start at $2 per activity, but are free to those who purchase a membership. Enjoy a comfortable lounge area, free coffee and Wi-Fi, and also available tables for crafting, reading, or spending quality time with neighbors and friends. For more information, visit wbparks.org. Attention all optimists, the Kego Harbor and West Bloomfield Optimist Holiday Party is coming up on December 4th from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Celebrate the holiday season with the community, which benefits families and children in need and around our area. For additional information, visit westbloomfieldoptimist.org. Hey kids, grab your mommy and bring them to the trails of West Bloomfield Parks for the Mommy and Me hike. The hike is happening Thursdays from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30. Join the WB Parks naturalist in discovering nature with this free program. Registration is required, and for additional information, go to wbparks.org. Santa is looking to bowl, and you can join him December 7th from 1 to 4 p.m. at Wonderland Lanes. You can join Santa in a friendly game of bowling, which includes shoes, pizza, pop, and a picture with the big man himself. Tickets are $15 for residents, and to register, go to wbparks.org. Dispose of prescription drugs with Operation Medicine Cabinet, happening year-round in West Bloomfield, Kego Harbor, and Orchard Lake, and takes place in the police departments of the 3 communities. Disposing of drugs is completely anonymous, open 24/7 in West Bloomfield, Tuesdays and Thursdays 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Kego Harbor, and Monday through Friday 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. in Orchard Lake. For more information, visit oakgov.com or call your local police. That's it for this week's highlights. You can find more events online at civiccentertv.com/events and see everything going on in the greater West Bloomfield area. We're going to take a short break, but when we return, I'll sit down with Representative Brenda Lawrence from the 14th Congressional District.
Don't go away. You're watching The Splash on Civic Center TV.
You want it, you got it. Civic Center TV has been bringing you live coverage of your local municipal meetings for years. Now you can catch a replay of those meetings the following day at 1 o'clock and again on Saturdays and Sundays at 9 a.m. If that's not enough, you can also visit civiccentertv.com/meetings to view a whole list of on-demand Township Board meetings and keep up to date on the most recent developments in your local government. Giving you more, it's Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
And now, back to The Splash on Civic Center TV.
Welcome back to The Splash. I'm joined this week by Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, and thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate it.
I am so excited to be here with you.
So tell me your districts.
So I represent the Michigan 14th District. It's 18 communities, all 5 of the Grosse Pointes. I have half of Detroit. I have Harper Woods. I have Hamtramck, and then Cross 8 Mile, Royal Oak Township, Oak Park, Southfield, Farmington Hills, West Bloomfield, Kego Harbor, Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, and Pontiac.
That is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of variation there, huh?
Yes. So much diversity.
Right. So, okay. So tell me, I guess the biggest question is what's been happening in Washington?
There's a lot happening. As you know, we have gone through an impeachment hearing, but there's been so many bills passed in the House and sent to the Senate. We have passed a bill on violence against women, on gun violence, of having mandatory background check, voting rights. We have passed bills and a budget. We passed our budget in appropriations. I'm a member of appropriations. And we passed that budget in June, and it went over to the Senate. And in a nonpartisan way, I can tell you the House is doing the work, and the bills are sitting in the Senate waiting for the leader, Mitch McConnell, to take them up. So we are trying to move the country forward. I want you to know that two big issues are transportation infrastructure. We all know that in Michigan. There has been continuous efforts to sit down all the players from the House, the Senate, and the White House to come to an agreement so that we can move forward. Everyone says we need it, but there seems to be a challenge in us coming together to say how we're going to fund it. And then the other issue that is very important is our trade deal. And that is one that we are constantly working on and really close to coming together for a trade deal, which have a major impact on Michigan because of our manufacturing, our auto industry. So those things are extremely important. And for me in my district, education. Education is one of the greatest issues, and it is a saying that Elijah Cummings used a lot, and he's such a great man. We lost an amazing leader. He said, our children, it's the message that we send to a future that we'll never see. How we treat our children, what are we doing to educate them, to protect them?
I know that education and also poverty is a big issue for you.
So it's a horrible statistic, but we are one of the highest in poverty in the city of Detroit for a large city in the country. We're the lowest, the highest, and we must do more. We must do more with, because what creates poverty? Lack of jobs and lack of education. And so if we attack the ability, if we attack the hiring, and we call it unconscious or unbiased prejudice in hiring, building skilled trades, that's a workforce that is crying for people.
And actually Michigan has really stepped up to highlight the skilled trades here.
Yes.
So what do you think of that? Do you think that skilled trades could actually...
Skilled trades can actually address a lot of the poverty issues. But let me tell you something that's really important to me too, and that's re-entering citizens. So those who committed a crime, did their time, come back. And we have had historically a policy of not hiring someone.
Check the box.
So if you don't hire them, they know how to be a criminal. And if you don't have a way of providing for your family, or there is so often recidivism. So now, amazingly, and I have to give our previous governor, who was a Republican, credit for this. He instituted skilled trade training in prison. If you were in prison and eligible for parole in a nonviolent crime, you were able to start training for welding, for truck driving, and other things that they could train you in. That was phenomenal, because these people who were in prison, who were eligible for parole, were getting job offers before they left prison.
So those are the vocational villages,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And there's actually quite a few of them now.
Yes.
Right? So so it's a statewide initiative that you strongly support.
Yes.
So so education, poverty. Let's talk about water real quick.
Yes.
Okay, so the Flint water crisis has led to testing pretty much all over the United States, but especially here in Michigan.
Yes, and the governor and I sat down and talked about that. The fact that we're testing more aggressively now under her leadership, Governor Whitmer, she has proposed in her budget that we put in water filtration systems in these schools, because I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the schools get tested and the water is found to have too high level of lead. They just put a plastic bag over the drinking fountain. Why don't we be proactive and say in our budget we will put a water drinking system in the schools for the children, because that's who's hurt the most from lead poisoning, small children, because their brains are developing, and lead poisoning attacks the development of brain.
So that all goes back again
Yes.
to education and even
Yes.
poverty, right?
Yes.
So if those systems were put in, they would be put into certain schools that were built a long time ago, right?
Yes. Well, there was a period of time when in construction, lead pipes were the norm before we became educated and became aware of the health crisis. So you have all these older buildings that have lead pipes. And so let's be proactive instead of reactive. And let's start putting into these school systems water filtration. Because how often do children drink water during the day in a school?
Right. A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
And they should.
Right.
It's part of their development. They need it to live. Another thing I wanted to bring up with the poverty, we're going to have to look at affordable housing. And this is a national debate. You know, 4 days or 5 days a week, I'm in Washington, D.C., and I'm watching the affordability of housing. In Detroit, we're seeing the same thing. Housing is going to be a major issue with poverty. My goodness, I was in L.A. where every day around 5 o'clock, this whole big tent city opens up. Thousands of people without homes. And now they have this camper villages where people get campers and live in them, park them on the street and live in them and plug in to wherever they can. And so we cannot, every major urban city, Washington, D.C., Seattle, Washington, L.A., Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia, every major city, there is a housing crisis that is just bubbling up, and we're watching it happen right in front of our eyes. It's not affordable.
Right. So it's not affordable, and that again just ties into everything that you fight for,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here. And if you had one thing to say to your constituents, what would it be?
I would say to our constituents, please know that this is our country. We are a country with an amazing democracy, a constitution, and I will tell everyone to lean in, don't shut down, and don't feel like, oh, what's happening? We've had some tremendous challenges to our democracy, to our republic throughout history, and we've always, as a country, come together and found a way to keep true to one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'll do it again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It has been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And again, we have been joined by Brenda Lawrence from the 14th Congressional District. And next on the show, we learn all about the mental health of our children on this week's episode of Parenting on the Go. Hello and welcome to Parenting on the Go. I'm Brooke Allen, and joining me today is Tanya Petkoff. Tanya is a limited licensed psychologist at Child and Family Solutions in Farmington Hills. And Tanya, thank you so much for being with us. And today we're talking about ways to keep kids mentally healthy. So tell me, where do you even start with that?
I know, and I often think this is kind of a loaded question, but I think the best way we can kind of think about it is maybe looking at it from 5 major points. And I think the first one being, making sure that the child and parent has a very trustworthy relationship. And I think one of the best ways that we can do that is through consistency and predictability in our parenting strategies. Because if you go to any local bookstore, there's 1,000 parenting books on how to do this. And I think that one of the things we have to really keep in mind is making sure that we don't use empty threats when we're parenting, such as saying, if you don't stop this right now, we're going to leave, and then not leaving or not following through on something that we promise. I think another really key important thing is making sure that we spend one-on-one time with our children. A lot of times in the practice, I call this special time. It's, basically unplugging and spending 15 to 20 minutes with our child. It could be doing something on the floor if they're younger. It could be watching a favorite show if they're teenagers, but just doing something that the kid really kind of is interested in, let them guide it. I think it should be something that we follow through on regardless of their behavior that day. That's just something that they can expect.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What if they're siblings? and you need to divide your time. How do you navigate that?
That's a good question. I think one of the things is depending on like family situations, if there is another caretaker or parent involved and around, then maybe you guys can even break it up. Like one day, you know, dad gets one of the kids and mom has the other, or vice versa.
So switch off.
Yeah, so switch off. And I think, you know, it can be something that maybe even you could switch at different times of day. Maybe that kid will have to do something on their own for a little bit while mom kind of spends time with the sibling, or vice versa. So
Okay.
I think another thing too is just making sure we instill healthy self-esteem, which can be, you know, one of those things, like how do we go about doing that? And I often tell parents, I think making sure that we use praise in an appropriate way. And one of the things I often say is, you know, it can be damaging to tell our child, oh, you're the smartest kid in the whole wide world, when reality is there might be other kids smarter than them, right? So I think the big thing is like making sure that we praise on effort. So if we see our kid working really hard on a project or trying to gain a skill set, that we kind of bring that to light and say, hey, buddy, you're working really hard on that science project. Mom's really proud of you for doing that. I think also making sure that we give them opportunities of independence, whether it's chores around the house, whether it's helping out with cooking or gardening, or something that is going to give them something that they can then do on their own. And then often I tell parents, as much as we want our children to succeed, I think it's equally as important to watch them fail and like have them learn from that experience too. It can be hard as a parent, but sometimes even for us adults, the best lessons in life are those that maybe don't go the ways that we want it to, and to realize we can be resilient and we can get through it. So I think that's another key component as well.
And part of that is explaining it as you go, right? Because if you just kind of do it halfway, then they don't get the whole picture.
Or if you helicopter and do it all. You know, I think a lot of times that can happen too. It's like we want our kids to do well, so we think, okay, well, we don't want it to not look a certain way, or what if it's not, they don't get a good grade, but then they're not really learning the full circle of what goes into something. It goes from like how much effort we put into something, what the outcome is going to be, and not necessarily thinking, well, if I just don't do it a certain way, mom or dad is going to cover it for me, if that makes sense.
Okay, so explain the full circle to me.
Yeah. Okay. I think, you know, like whenever, if we're like tackling a project, say it's a science fair, and, you know, it's allowing the kid to really come up with the topic, you know, doing the research. You're there to guide them and support them if they have questions, but it's not like we dive in and suddenly we're doing the research or we're staying up until 2 in the morning to finish that project for them. That we kind of accept that this is kind of what they want to do and how they want to go about doing it. And I think that kind of builds that self-esteem, because it's really ultimately their project. You know what I mean? So I think that's another key thing. I think another thing is making sure that we are observant of our children too. You know, if we're noticing any changes in their mood or behaviors, or, you know, maybe not talking about certain friends they used to mention, you know, being self-aware if there's any changes in our family system, if, you know, there's financial struggles, parents are fighting, somebody's ill. All of that can be really, you know, important, that can affect our children too. So just making sure we're having those conversations. And then, you know, I think the last thing is just leading by good example. I often tell parents, you know, our kids are watching what we're doing. So giving them opportunities to see how to express emotion. I mean, one of the things a lot of times I get from parents is, you know, kids, how they handle anger and aggression. And I think for a lot of us, it's something that we have to learn. We don't necessarily just know how to handle that type of emotion.
Okay, thank you so much for all the information. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Parenting on the Go. And for more helpful parenting tips, you can visit the West Bloomfield Youth Assistance website at wbyouthassistance.org. For more episodes of Parenting on the Go, visit civiccentertv.com/parenting-to-go. And now it's time for our final segment, Person of the Week, where we celebrate the people in the community who are inspiring and providing toward others. And this week's recipient is Michael Ballard from Temple Shir Shalom. Michael is the president of the Temple Shir Shalom Brotherhood, and in this role, he has organized an annual business expo that features many local businesses from our community, allowing them to showcase their company and also drum up additional business. The Temple Shir Shalom Brotherhood organizes and participates in many different community and fundraising events, and that money raised from the fundraisers gives back not only to the synagogue, but also to the community as well. And the events they throw range from blood drives to food drives to special events. And Michael's drive for benefiting the community and the people in it is what makes him our Person of the Week. And if you know someone who is making a positive difference, let us know. Message us on social media with any and all suggestions, because we want to congratulate and acknowledge those making a difference in our community. That's it for this week's show. You can catch new episodes anytime online in HD at civiccentertv.com, Mondays at 5:30 p.m. at Civic Center TV and on Comcast 15 and AT&T Channel 99. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Civic Center TV. And you can also catch me weekdays from 2 to 7 p.m. on WWJ Newsradio 950. And for all our friends in Sylvan Lake, Orchard Lake, Kego Harbor, and West Bloomfield, I'm Brooke Allen. Thank you for watching The Splash.